and welcome back to the Colour Cave. It's Jem here, and today I am doing another sort of makeshift video. We are in the new cave, technically speaking, but there's not a lot going on. This is the old desk. I'm waiting on a new one coming. And this is a bit of a sort of impromptu video. This was not the original intention for today. So we're just going to have a relaxed colouring chat. So get your colouring book out or your sketchbook out and you can listen to me ramble away while I do a little bit more in Enchanted Forest by Johanna Basford. I'm going to be experimenting with the light today and just to see how the camera picks up on it. This is my mobile phone camera though, so it's not really a true representation of what we're going to get when we get the rig and everything set back up. So what I'm going to do is, you can see here I'd started on this wall part round the vines that I had done last time. So I want to match up the other side of the wall and get this all sort of blended together. And then I'm going to move on to the pillars as well. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about light sources as I go along, but it's not going to be as sort of in depth. I'm also going to use the same pencils for the gargoyles because I'm assuming they would be made out of the same stone that the wall and the pillars would be, which, you know, that makes sense in my head anyway. So the colours that I'm using today, once again, as I have used throughout this book, it's always Prismacolors I use in this book, and it's the selection of French greys. So we've got 30% French grey, which is PC 1070, 50% French grey, PC 1072. Again, just trying to tilt this in a way that you might be able to see it. Come on, autofocus. There we go. 70% French grey, PC 1074. Oh, there you go, clear as a bell. How nice is that? And the darkest one as well, which is the 90% French grey, PC 1076. So I'm going to be jumping back and forth with these pencils. And I'm going to be honest, I can't really remember what happened over this side. It was a week or so ago, which was a lifetime ago in terms of moving. So I'm just going to use my eyeball and try and recall as much as I can to see if I can get this to match up. I am just wanting to dig out a sharpener of some description. Still haven't really found everything. Everything's still all in boxes, so this could be painful. There we go. There's it. I've got a Derwent sharpener. This is the 2-hole sharpener, so hopefully that'll do us a turn. Oh wow, the jokes are coming quick already. Right, so having again just this sort of idea in my head before we get started. Obviously we've got the glow cast off of our lanterns, so when we're putting in our lighter and darker shades on the wall, we have to think about where the light is going to reflect off, therefore making parts lighter than others. So the obvious thing to do is to start down at the bottom, and you can see that I've done that, and I've obviously gone in with the darkest pencil, which is the 90% French grey, and I've started to build up a little bit of colour in there. So we'll just work off that basis. Now I think I'm going to work this side first and get it finished, and then that'll sort of put in my mind what I should be doing over here, and then I'll jump over to the other side. So let's do that. That sounds like a good idea. Yeah, okay, so yeah, more chatting than anything else today. As I say, this really wasn't my intention at all, so please accept my apologies, but I would rather have some sort of video than no video, because we've already missed a slot on Sunday just there, and I'm not in the business of letting people down. I say I do have, the cave is here, it's just not, it doesn't resemble a cave just yet. But I am hoping that over the course of the next maybe week, then we will be able to do something about that. So okay, I'm dropped down to the 70% French grey. So there's nothing exciting happening really other than just unpacking, and we have a lot to do to this house. So most of my time when I'm not working is taken up with that just now. I've also got to kind of be careful of when I'm filming because we have builders coming in, and they're going to be doing a lot of clattering and banging. So that is obviously going to affect the times that I can reasonably film videos for the next couple of weeks at least. I wonder if we can maybe get it zoomed in a little bit here. Let's see if we can. Oh, that was maybe a bit too much. But there you go. You can see what I'm doing a bit better now. So obviously down at the bottom here, this is going to be one of the darkest areas. So I just want to build up these darker French greys and try and get that nice sort of shadowy sense of what's going on. Once I've finished this part, what I do want to do is I will go back in with a much darker pencil, probably, I think it'll have to be black actually, and just put in some shadows in behind these leaves so that they're not, you know, they don't look as if they're sitting flat against the wall, so that they pop out from the wall a wee bit. That's always a really nice, easy trick to do, even if you're not that bothered about putting a light source in, or you're maybe not that proficient at it. That's a really good way to add a bit of depth to your picture without having to really, you know, go at it. I always think it's a nice touch as well. And it's one of those things that's not instantly noticeable, but it makes all the difference. And if someone were to point it out to you, you'd be like, oh yeah, that's what it is. So I'm trying to lighten off here, like really light hand with this 70% now. Okay, and we'll move on up to the 50. Just start blending this together a wee bit. So it's been snowing here for 2 days. Now we are now further north than we previously were, so the chances of getting more extreme weather in the winter is a little bit higher, and it has literally snowed constantly for 2 days. So it let up for a little while earlier on, so I thought I would seize the opportunity and try and take the dogs out for a wee while, because they haven't left the house for nearly 2 full days. And you can imagine, with Pip being still very young and full of energy because she's a collie, she's climbing the walls. So I got bundled up and the sun was out, and I thought, yes, let's go. And I put the little jacket on the Jack Russell because she's old and also very close to the ground. So got her little jacket on, got her all bundled up, and off we went out. And we managed to get her run about in the field for about 5 minutes, and then all of a sudden Woo just disappeared, and she literally is like as if she fell down a hole, and there was just a really big snowdrift, and she just put her foot in it and went whoop and disappeared down into it. So all I could see was the collar of her jacket sticking out, so I had to go and dig her out and rescue her. So I ended up carrying her. And she only weighs like 6 kilos, but see if you carry around 6 kilos under your arm when you're walking through snow on uneven ground, it gets heavy pretty quickly. So yeah, that didn't last long, and then the sky just went black all of a sudden again, and then we got blizzarded on. So that was mostly not successful today, but at least we got out for a little bit of fresh air, even if it was only for 15-20 minutes. It's better than not getting out at all. And Pip has settled down, which is nice. That's good. So we'll get a wee bit of peace for a while now. But it's not showing any signs of letting up. And I could really do with leaving. And I can get out the farm road end, that's not a problem. But the road that the farm like joins onto, we don't get any gritters or anything. So you know, it's not actually getting out the farm that's the problem, it's going anywhere once you get out. So I'm just going to come up to the top now, and I just want to bring this 50% down a bit. I actually really enjoy doing things like this with, you know, these types of pencils, because it's very gradual and you can spend quite a lot of time and care over it, and you can keep kind of like going back and tweaking it. And I think that's why it appeals to me, because this is very like using graphite, especially also since you're using greys. I don't know, I find it quite relaxing. I think I'm quite satisfied with that side. I'm not so satisfied with what's going on against here, because in my mind, these pillars are like, you know, like cylindrical, they're not square. And that really like affects the light source, and it affects it quite differently to, you know, if it was a square pillar. And I'm just wondering if it's worthwhile doing this as an exercise or not. I don't know. I don't know. I'll have a little sharpen and I'll have a think about it. This is sort of like lurking in the undergrowth almost. Lurking. Speaking of lurking, in the hallway, which is over that way, the hallway between Mr. Jem's office and my office, there is a bit in the ceiling that has been patched up at some point, and it was never finished off. So there's a gap where the ceiling meets the wall. And when I was through there earlier on looking through some boxes, I could see 4 big legs poking down through the gap going like this. So we've obviously got a dirty great big spider that's living in that gap. which is not a problem for me at all. I don't mind spiders because they keep the flies at bay in the house. I just tend to sort of leave them be and, you know, I just let them get on with it. But that is a big spider. I thought it was one of these ones with like a tiny, tiny little body and then great big long legs. So yeah. We've also got a pet barn owl as well that frequents our sheds outside, and Mr. Jem has named him Boris. So I haven't seen him myself, but apparently he's very nonchalant. He comes into the shed during the day and he just kind of sits and looks at you. So that's okay, we can live with that. So I'll need to try and catch sight of him, and if I can, I'll get a picture of him for you. I think barn owls are wonderful things. I think they're very, very beautiful animals. Very beautiful animals. Okay, I think that's a little bit better. I'm a wee bit happier. This could be darker in here. This lip that's here, I've put this in myself, so it's entirely up to me to do what I want with it. So I'm just going to make it a wee bit darker because I'm not entirely convinced at all. Oh, I've just coloured over our little birdie friend. Good grief. Good grief. Let's see if I can get the... I do have my Derwent eraser here. I've got, this is like a box full of crap, and I just kept this out once I'd packed everything away because I was still working right up until like literally the day we moved. So there's a sort of few essentials in there, and I just thought I'll keep my Derwent eraser out because it's generally quite good sort of multi-purpose type effort. There we go. That wasn't too bad at all. Okay, so I think I'm going to move over the other side and see if I can try and match these up now. Hopefully, she says. So let's do that, and then I think I'll tackle the pillars after that. So you can see I made a start here, and I think this was just to help jog my memory when I did come back to it, because the last time I was colouring in this, I was very aware of the fact that it may be a number of weeks before I was able to get back to this. So I was trying to help myself out, obviously. Not with much success, it has to be said, but oh yeah, okay, you know, I tried. Yeah, so I'm quite excited for tomorrow for my desk coming. It may be one part of two. I've ordered one section to begin with to see how it's going to look and to see if it's how much of the room it's going to take up. And I don't mean in the floor space sense. I mean how much it's going to crowd the room. So I thought I would just buy the biggest part first and then have a look and see what it was going to look like, and then decide whether or not to get the extra section. The extra section is to house our drawing board, which both Mr. Jem and I use. And because I have the bigger office out the two of us, it was decided that it would possibly go in my office, aka the cave. So it's not an essential, you know, it's not a must, but it would be nice. So we'll see how we go with this first part, and hopefully I can get that up as well, because that would be quite nice. One thing I have noticed is if I've been working on a painting, if I have that painting sitting out somewhere, I tend to go back to it quite frequently and maybe only do like a small section or like a wash or whatever and then go away. But if it's actively sitting out, I tend to go back to it more frequently. And I'm kind of hoping the same thing will happen with the drawing board. If I have a drawing sat out, you know, I'll maybe walk past and, I don't know, add in a few more lines or erase something. So I'm quite interested to see if that is going to be the case, because that would be very cool if it was, because I think I would probably get more drawings done. I do have a graphite dog drawing to do. I started it ages ago and it was shelved for various reasons, but I've been back in touch with the lady that is the owner of said dog, and she's ready for me to complete it for her. So she hasn't given me a time scale, but you know, because there's been so many delays on her part and mine, I want to kind of get on with it now and get it done. So that would be quite helpful for that as well, I think. I keep looking back over here to make sure I'm doing something that's even remotely similar, and I don't think they're going to turn out quite that way. But I'm not bothered if they're not absolutely identical, but I'd like them to be reasonably similar. I'm struggling with the texture of the paper on this side, and I think it's because it's been pressed up against here, and this is pan pastel that's been sprayed with fixative, and I think some of it's actually rubbed off on this side, because the tooth of the paper on this side feels very different, and my pencil is behaving quite differently as well. It's not a huge issue. Fill in all these little gaps. I'm not taking a huge amount of care over this because I do imagine that the surface of the wall isn't going to be completely smooth. So, you know, you do want a little bit of texture there. I did think originally about doing like a brick pattern, but because of the complexity of this vine here, I thought better of it, because I thought I'd probably be at this picture for about 3 years if I did that. It's like, let's not do that. Okay, so let's come up to the top now. I keep jumping about all over the place here, but I'm just trying to... do want this a bit darker in here. Again, thinking about that as maybe a curved part. And then I'm going to start a little bit lighter underneath here, and then I can just build it up from there. So I'm going to go back to the 50%, and I'm just going to pop a wee bit of that and maybe blend out this corner a little bit as well. That's definitely transferred because this has gotten super scratchy. Super scratchy. This side seems a lot darker than this side down here, so I'm going to have to build that up a bit more. This is what I mean, like I keep looking about, although I'm colouring one specific part, I do keep looking around to see what's going on elsewhere. I just looked out of the window and it started snowing again. There's just no getting away from it. I think tomorrow's supposed to be quite nice and we're supposed to get some quite strong sunshine. So I'm hoping that that'll start to melt things a wee bit. That would be lovely. That would be very helpful indeed. Because we got things to do. I've still got to go back to the old house. We've still got things to move out of the outbuildings. Things like patio furniture and that sort of thing. And then give the spare set of keys in. So that's going to be a job. I don't know if I'm going to get to it until maybe the weekend. But that is on the to-do list. And then that is us. We're officially done with the old house, which is kind of weird. But Mr. Jem was in the other day, and because I've had to be here for workmen and also for my own work. But he was in the house the other day and he says it doesn't feel like our house anymore just because all of our stuff's out of it. So that's, I thought that was fairly obvious myself, but I think it just kind of hit him that, you know, that it's very sort of final now. That's it, it's over. So that's, yeah, you know, it's all part and parcel of it though, really. I think I'm going to bring... yeah, I think I'm going to bring this up a little bit further. Maybe I'll skip down to the 50 rather than the 70 though. Yeah, that's better. Bring this up a little bit in here. So many bitty leaves to work around here. Good grief. Right, so let's have a think about these pillars now. So the light is going to be cast in this sort of fashion round here as previously discussed. So this side is going to be darker, but we're going to see more light on these kind of like middle areas. So what I'm going to do, well, the first thing I'm going to do is sharpen this pencil. I'm very aware that these pencils have been in transit and I don't want to sharpen them to too fine a point, especially this isn't a sharper I would normally use with Prismacolors. I normally use the Tegal, excuse me, the Tegal sharpener, but I don't know where that is, so, but I just don't want anything breaking, that would be nice. Right, so really this side's going to be lighter than this side, very much. So we'll maybe go 30 to 50 in the area that's actually directly illuminated by the lantern. So we'll put down a layer of the 30 first, avoiding all these itty bitty leaves, how dare they? I'm literally just going to go to the circumference of where, because originally when I started this picture, you probably won't be able to see it in this light because the light's not great in here. I did put a layer of ivory pencil or cream. Was it cream? I can't remember. all the way around here in this sort of circular fashion, and that was obviously to denote the direct point of the light hitting the pillar, and just to use that as a reference, you know, as I progressed with the picture. So that's really helpful right now. So I'm just going to whack all of this 30% down in the vicinity of what we're talking about here. And that's just a light layer. Again, this is me just trying to sort of feel my way around this picture and decide what's what. So that's quite subtle, which is okay. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my 50, and on this side, I'm just going to work in a tiny little bit along this left-hand edge, because this is furthest away. And also if it's curving, it's going to be curving round and away from the lantern. So that's going to be a factor. But say we just very subtly, we don't want we don't want to end up with a stripy pillar, goodness me. Ever so subtle, ever so subtle. So if we work up the way, we'll put down our 30 again. And this will start to show up as a slightly different colour once I move out of the cream area. And you can see that here. And we'll just bring this all the way up to the top of the pillar. Well, the top of this section of the pillar at any rate. Get that down there. Okay, so up here is naturally going to be darker because it's out of the direct line of where this light is. So again, using the 50, if I just carry on up here with this, just as I've been doing, you know, using the same sort of idea, then we know that this part here is going to be darker. So let's pop this in here. It's kind of just a matter of judgment here. Now I do have that, because I've got the lighter area of my leaves, I can use that as a reference point as to where my darker colour should be stopping, even if it's just roughly. So we've done that now, and I look as if I've got a bit of a stripe going on just where I've stopped that. So because of that, I'm going to bring it down just a little bit further past these leaves. And I'm going to do exactly the same at the bottom here as well. So I'll carry this part on down here. This might not be making much sense at this point, but I promise you as this progresses, it'll make a bit more sense. You'll see where I'm going with it if you haven't clicked to what I'm up to. I need to get some 30% down here as well. Don't put any of that in down here. Getting ahead of myself, guys. I can hear Pip snuffling about in the hallway. I don't know what she's doing, but I can hear her. Just having a wee look round to see who I've got. I'm very disorientated because the dogs haven't found their spot yet in the new place. You know, when we were in the old cave, I always had one in the sofa bed, one down beside me, and one in the bed and the floor. And that's not happened yet. They keep moving about, changing where they want to lie. Jock's behind me on the floor. And Woo is on what's supposed to be Jock's bed, which is beside the radiator, which is also behind me, but it's slightly over that way. And Pip's out in the hallway. So I don't know what she's doing. She's quiet though, which means she's probably settled down. Right, yeah, so back to the 50 now, and so just carrying on what I was doing up the top. So I've got this darker side to denote that curvature or potential curvature, but because this end is further away from the lantern, then we're going to bring that all the way around. And if I put this sort of almost crescent shape on it, then that helps just, excuse me, I've got a really bad frog in my throat today. That just helps to denote that sort of curvature. There we go, so that looks okay. I can do the same this part here, but I'm going to darken this down again. So if I go down to the 70 now, need a bit of a sharper point for this. Oh wow, that's a very pointy. I'll be surprised if that I'll be surprised if this lasts. I'm going very carefully, but I'm gonna add in this darker part here. Just up round this top part. Like this. I'm feeling that this is a bit too subtle for my liking. So I'm just gonna add in a bit of this and pull it out a little bit more, you know, over to that right hand side. And when I get into this sort of area with the lantern again, I'll go back down to the 50 and just bring it a bit further across. Yeah, that's a bit better. That's a bit more like it. That's a bit more like it. Right, so just blend this out a wee bit because that's a bit hefty there. Ooh. Okay, so at least my pillar looks like a pillar. Right, rather than going and doing the other one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to tackle that that shading I was talking about, you know, the cast shadow. And my black Prismacolor pencil is missing. Oh no, it's not. I'm talking rubbish. It's in a pencil extender, so it wasn't in its normal slot. It's looking a bit pathetic. And we need to keep this really sharp to do this as well, so this may be the end of this this particular pencil. I have to take it out the pencil extender to sharpen it. Oh goodness me. There's plenty left in that as long as it doesn't break. See, I've just jinxed myself by saying that. Ooh, oh no. Oh no. I don't even have a bin beside this desk. Oh, I'll be back in a minute. Okay, success. I found it. So because this is very broken and very small, I'm going to set this to a number 1. Which is the shortest, stubbiest point you can get, and just see if I can coax what's left of this into a point. The problem with these is the Tagal sharpeners, because of the way it's shaped and how far inside the sharpener is, you can only go so far and then you've got nothing left to turn, so this may or may not work. I do have my sketching pencil case, and I keep a brass bullet sharpener in here, and that's what I usually use when pencils get really small anyway, so I can always try that. Failing that, I may have to dig out a new black pencil. Thankfully, I do. My Prismacolor spares are already unpacked, so they're oh yay! They're actually sitting behind me anyway, so right, okay. I'm going to use this just now. You can see that it's a really small stubby point, but it is very pointy. And the next time I need to sharpen it, then I will put it to number 2, which is what I would normally have it set at when I'm sharpening my Prismacolors. So you go, there's a lesson in Tagal sharpeners to do. Every day's a school day, guys. Right, about there. For anyone else that's interested as well, I use these pencil extenders all the time. These are the Derwent ones. The writing's actually rubbed off it because these are pretty old, but they are quite expensive for pencil extenders, and they come in 2 in a pack. But they're very, very sturdy. I was just going to see, yeah, there's the silver one. So you get 2 in a pack like this, and the silver one has a slightly larger diameter, and that's better suited to like polychromos and chunkier pencils. Whereas I actually like the black ones for the Prismacolors. It is quite a snug fit, but I find it holds them steady better, especially if you want to sharpen them with the pencil extender on, depending on what sharpener you're using. So yeah, I like the Derwent ones. Okay, so enough chat. Just starting at the bottom here, all I'm going to do, and I'm not going to do it with every leaf, but I just want to run an outline under some of these to show that it's sitting out from the wall. So all I'm doing is following the line art of the leaf with that really pointy point. I'll zoom in a little bit more here and you'll be able to see a wee bit better. There we go, yeah, you can see better now. And so you've run that line, and then just very lightly, and I'll show you on a scrap piece of paper before I do it in the actual book. So you've got your line that you've drawn, And all you want to do is soften one edge of that line. So in your scumbling motion, you know, your little circular motion that you would normally use, do it in very, very tight circles. So you're basically just feathering one side of the line. And use a really light hand to do this. And all you're doing is softening that edge. So you can see there, look at this end compared to that end. It looks almost as if I've smudged it with my finger. That's what you want, because that's where the, you know, it sort of simulates the light and the cast of it blending into what is not the shadowed area, if that makes sense. So I've drawn my line here, and that's all I'm going to do. That's easier to explain on a blank piece of paper. I don't know why. But there you go. You can see the kind of thing that I'm talking about. So I'm going to do that for select leaves that are at the forefront or in the foreground. Now to me that one looks as if it's in behind, so that's why I'm doing the one underneath, because it seems to be sitting out in front. And it's up to you how dramatic you want these shadows to be, you know how thick you want that black line, but I just want something quite subtle here. So we'll do it for a few. Now you can pick and choose, it's up to yourself whether you want to go the whole hog. If you want to do the whole lot, then that's entirely up to yourself. But I find it has a bit more of an impact if you don't do them all. So the closer we get to the light source, the lighter those shadows are going to be. So I'm using a much lighter hand here. And I'm going to switch out to grey in just a moment. But these ones down here I feel are going to be quite dark. I forgot how zoomed in I was there. Right, anyway, yeah, what was I doing? Kind of, trains left the station there. Right. I'll turn this back round. I make myself seasick here. So yeah, just on some of these bottom edges. And you can see that that's not nearly as harsh. Okay, let's zoom out now and have a wee look at that and see how it looks. Yeah, so you can see I've just given it a little bit of dimension, but nothing drastic. I do feel now though that I've said that this one should have. But this is the beauty of this, you know, you can keep going back to it, and that's what I'm enjoying about this picture. Okie dokie, I'm quite happy with that. Okay guys, I think that's enough for today. Thank you very much for coming and joining me. I do appreciate it very, very much. And I promise you that the video schedule is going to get back to normal a bit more now that I'm starting to get settled in. And the next video that I film is going to be at a different desk, so that's quite exciting as well. Woo! Anyway, thanks for taking the time to hang out today, and we'll see you in the next video. Have a great day everyone, and bye for now.